One of those shows. All right, welcome back to another episode of HVAC Success Secrets Revealed with Thaddeus and Evan, but it's just Thaddeus here today because Evan is going out to lunch to meet a client while we're in town. So you get the pleasure of just me. What we have on today here, Dope Marketing, Dave Carroll, and a really cool story. I know we've known each other and had conversations over a little while as well. And when people hear Dope Marketing, like, oh, another marketer, well, they do a little bit differently. And they also have a unique story. I mean, you come from the trades, you're already part of it. You have oh shit, I had the name of the business and I forgot. Power washing.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. And so cool story that you had there in terms of when you started and what happened to you guys in COVID and also Dope Marketing. So super excited to dive into those sorts of things here. So why don't you go ahead and tell us your story about, getting into the trades and how that works?
Yeah. So, my born and raised in Minneapolis, Minnesota, was a bit of knucklehead coming up, and I never really had a job until I was like 25. The only job that I had was at a window cleaning company when I was in a halfway house after I got out of prison.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I got a job at the window cleaning company. Wasn't really sure that was like my path or anything, but decided when I met my wife, like, let's do the right thing. Let's be a productive member of society. Being that was the only exposure I ever had to legitimate business.
Mm-hmm.
We started a window cleaning company. And I, like most of us home service business owners, wore every hat from the sales, the marketing, the doing the work, cleaning the windows, washing the gutters, driving the trucks, doing the customer service. In about year 3, I remember I had like my aha moment. I went to this trade show. It's called the Huge Convention. My buddy Chris Lamborghini's started that almost like 10, 15 years ago. And I remember walking into the room and was just like, I watched people that were like so passionate about their service business, like really wanted to like get in the weeds and grow it. And I just saw like, that wasn't my vision for my life, is that I was going to be like a technician doing labor all day. It wasn't my passion. What I was motivated by. And so, fast forward, that business grew pretty quickly. We got to, I always say like in the, depending on what trades you're in, whether it's HVAC or roofing or power washing, whatever, $1 million a year in window cleaning and power washing is like making it for the profit margins and how that runs. So my goal was like, get to $1 million, get off the truck, only do estimates. I was able to do that. We hit 7 figures in our 6th year in business. So that was 8 years ago. I have been phased out of the company's name is Lion Share Maintenance. Mm-hmm. I've been phased out of the company for about 6 years completely. I haven't set foot in the office.
Wow.
In 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so do you still get, so by the way, if somebody's listening, well, I'm by myself, I want to be in the tools and truck. Great. That is a great goal for you in your life. Do what makes you happy. And I had that conversation with somebody at breakfast. He's like, well, I'm kind of happy doing what I'm doing. I'm like, great, keep doing what you're doing, right?
Exactly.
You don't have to be a $50 million per year business to be happy. You can be a $5 million per year. You can be a 7, you can be a 10, you can be 15. Find what makes you happy. But looking at that and going back to, I guess 3 years, haven't set foot in the office. Mm-hmm. Do you still touch it? Do you still see it? Do you get any reports?
I don't know the names of the people that are hired. I don't know the jobs that go. I get a check direct deposited every 2 weeks. That is the extent of it. Like I literally have no clue what goes on in that company. My whole thing was like, that business provides a great living to, I want to say peak season. We're at like 14 employees between the office and the technicians. So it's window cleaning, power washing, gutter cleaning, and Christmas light installation are our main services. And then we're in Minneapolis. So there's not much going on power washing, gutter cleaning wise in like January.
Well, I mean, you can do it. You just be fucking ice on the outside of your house.
That much fun. Yeah, exactly. And so like, where you were saying something about like, know what you want or know what you're good at. I think it was Theodore Roosevelt said like, comparison is the true thief of joy. Mm-hmm. And so I was just self-aware enough to understand that like I was interested in other things. I'm a data nerd. I like software. And that's just the things that like I really like to get into. And there's not as many of those problems to solve in that business for me. Right. For me to, I don't want to say like stay interested because business is interesting. But the things that I'm the best at that I enjoy, those things just there weren't seats in that business to do those things that I excel at.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And so I guess that's probably why you're like, hey, let's start Dope.
Yeah. Right? It was kind of a phase. So what happened was we decided to come out with a product for the power washing and window cleaning industry. It was 10 years ago. It was equivalent of like PandaDoc,
Right.
but for the trades.
Yeah.
So get your images, get your services, get your pricing, merge it all together, spit it out. I had this idea to do it. And this was before the like really big like app tech phase where people are, trying to get into that stuff with their ideas. We sold a product to 400 people for $30 a month in 90 days. So I was like, I like this software stuff. Fast forward, we tried to turn it into a CRM. That didn't go that great. Learned some lessons, but I got exposed to the world of data.
Right.
So we started selling lists of like property managers, hotel owners, $1 million homes, things like that. And so when I understood the world of like lists, buying lists, using lists, my data company was selling like a lot of lists to like telemarketing companies or to direct mail companies that were using the lists for targeting their customers. And so at that time, my cleaning company was growing. We were sending like 100,000 pieces of EDDM, every door direct mail, a month, and which I would not advise anyone to do anymore.
What's EDDM?
Every door direct mail.
Okay. Oh, so you said that after. Yeah.
You can pick zip codes and pick carrier routes within the zip codes, but there's very limited targeting.
Right.
Like you can't get in really granular like we like to do. But I got exposed to it and I just saw that like direct mail is really fucking hard. You got to get a list, whether it's your list or you're buying one. You got to clean it up, make sure it's deliverable, make sure it's the right people. Then you got to go through design. I think everyone watching or listening to this has probably gone through a design process that wasn't the easiest thing in the world.
Some design at some point in time in life, right?
Exactly. And like we're in the trades. We're not designers. So whether you go into Fiverr or your niece or one of your employees' ex-girlfriends that used to use Canva or whatever it is, there's another 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
Now you go to like getting the actual postcard setup, the tracking, the QR codes, the phone numbers, all that stuff, add another week. Now you got to deal with the print house to put all this stuff together. Now you got to get it to the post office. We're talking about like 2 to 8 weeks to run a direct mail campaign. I just saw, like most businesses, there was a different way to do it with the application of best practices. That was really with the data. So DOPE stands for data on previous engagement. Outside of, I like to say dope 17 times in every sentence that I say. It actually has a deeper meaning. And so from my exposure to the trades and local businesses, let's call it, getting in the world of data, understanding direct mail, I always had a vision that there was just a easier way to do mail that would be more targeted. Sadly, like Dad, when you do direct mail, or you go to get a direct mail strategy from a direct mail company, I was born in 1985. Me too. A lot of the strategies that you're going to get about how to do direct mail for your HVAC or roofing or solar or whatever dentist office, doesn't matter. It's going to be a strategy from the year me and you were born.
Right.
And that's wrong.
Yep.
There's just a different way to
Right. So in looking at that, data on previous engagement is one, but you mentioned best practices and doing direct mail and best practices. So I guess when somebody's looking at this, and obviously a lot of our listeners are HVAC related. I mean, home services sometimes, of course, in some essences. What are some of the best practices that somebody should be doing? Or I'll get to my second question after that. What are some best practices that people should be doing?
So I like to like use examples around like humans are predictable creatures. We do what make us comfortable. And so there's 90 million homeowners in the United States out of the 350 million population. 9 out of 10 of those homeowners, the biggest financial transaction they'll ever make is in their house. Well, the home is where the heart is when you go to the cliches. And so think about the neighborhood you live in now. For any of you people, listeners, watchers that own your home, think about your neighbors. Not only do your neighbors probably around the same age, maybe have kids around the same age, maybe they make them around the same amount of money so they can afford that house in your neighborhood because you have things in common. You live around people that you have things in common with. When you take it further, the second, third, and fourth largest investment that a homeowner or that an American makes, it's not vacation, it's not braces, it's not a car, it's maintenance, improvement, or upkeep to that property. So we found at DOPE that the best thing to do with direct mail or any advertising is simply focus on advertising to the neighbors of your current jobs, because they're 10 times more likely to have the needs or concerns. Take away the income, take away the age. Their house was built around the same year of the same materials. So they are just more likely, if Dave and Thaddeus live at 123 and 125 Main Street and Jimmy lives on the other side of town, if Thaddeus gets something done, Dave is 10 times more likely to need the same thing. So when you go into the strategies around direct mail, a lot of times, historically, back to 1985, it's, send 10,000 pieces every other month to your customer list or to a targeted neighborhood. It's called spray and pray. Yep. Spray it everywhere around town. Pray to baby Jesus, Buddha, the great pumpkin, whoever you say your thank yous to. And just
flying spaghetti monster.
There you go, flying spaghetti monster. I'll add that to my word track. Hopefully it works.
Yep.
But that's not the strategy. The strategy is true omni-channel. True cross-channel marketing. So your truck wrap looks like your website, looks like your yard signs, look like your Facebook ads, look like your door hangers. Consistency creates trust. So consistency in direct mail, specifically to the neighbors of your current jobs, using the data on previous engagement in your business to simply engage or make people more aware of the problems that you solve with people that are more likely to have the same problem.
Right. And you're 100% correct in that, right? And when you look at the aspect of sending it out in the spray and pray, like I used to be in print media before I started our digital company, right?
We talked about that before. Yeah.
Shout out On Purpose Media. That's our digital company. But when you look at the aspect of what you're doing with that spray and pray, like it was, we used to talk about direct mail and it just didn't work, or the engagement was so little, and you're talking like 0.1% or 1% or whatever. When you dial it down to a niche, into a local experience, walk me through, I guess. So somebody's saying, okay, well, my neighbors, how do I do direct mail? When you talked earlier, it's 2 to 8 weeks just to get something done. Well, if I know that I'm booking next day or a couple days out, or the next week out, how are you able then to do direct mail on a quick turnaround to be able to target the neighbors while somebody is there?
So without ever making this like a pitch to our business or anything, the problem with a lot of industries and the home service, the trades, it's very similar to print. You have a lot of I like to joke, like, the print industry is ran by 70-year-old fat white dudes who suck at golf, whose kids don't want to work for them. I'm your nephew, Dave. I love this shit. If you told me 3 years ago I would own a print shop, I'd have told you you're fucking crazy. That wasn't the plan. Like, we started as a software company. What we understood was that these printers that you've seen, whether it's at school or a law office or Kinko's or whatever, these things are computers and they talk to each other. So we just saw it dope, the opportunity to build a piece of software that when you change the status of a job in House Call Pros, Service Titan, Sarah, whatever, it automatically triggers postcards to go to the neighbors of your job based on the status of that job at no minimum order. And by no means are we the only company in the world doing this, but I think it just goes back to when you look at your HVAC, your plumbing, your electric company, is like, what are you doing to stay ahead of best practices? Because what we identified at Dope is like, there's just a different way to do something that's already going on. And so the problem we solved is figuring out how to integrate with different CRMs to send automated mail based on triggers to now educate the neighbors. And this is the same, like, there are social media platforms that do this stuff. There are geofencing platforms that do this stuff. It goes to the evolution. What I like to say at Dope, like, if it's timeless, we spend time on it. If it was around since covered wagons, since the Great Depression, if someone has ever walked around with a briefcase going door to door selling something, like, that's the stuff that we like understand. Home service, auto, insurance, the trades, medical, like all these things. It's just not like a vegan lotion, chapstick, popsicle on Amazon trying to sell some fucking widget or something. So when you go to like the simplistic thing that you might be doing for your plumbing company, which might just simply be like, you put a door hanger on the doors of the next door neighbors and the 3 across the street. You do your 5 rounds, or you're putting a yard sign in the yard, or maybe you get a little more strategic with your signs. You're doing them on the stop signs coming out of those high-end neighborhoods, or coming out of Home Depot or Walmart or the gas station. It's like, these things have been going on to look at the touches. I always joke, like, Thad, you're a Harvard grad like me, right?
Oh,
we both went to Harvard, alma mater.
Harvard education.
Totally, both of us. Yeah, exactly. We forgot our hoodies.
I left it in the room on purpose. I didn't want a big wheel.
Totally. Yeah. You and me both. So the idea is, like, Harvard told us it takes 7 to 11 touches for a cold consumer to remember a brand. The majority of local businesses are getting 2 to 4 touches with their targeted audience. And so what we looked at Dope was like, how can we get more meaningful touches in the hands of the prospects? And there's ways that people are already doing this in the business. We just looked at it from a standpoint with direct mail. So when you look at like the best practices or how do you do this, we can agree, I think, that the neighbors are more likely to convert than some other random person on the other side of town. But touches have value. You know, like we've both been on Facebook or Instagram this morning once.
Yeah, a couple times. I mean, this is live on Facebook too right now.
What's the last Facebook ad you saw?
Oh, I don't know.
How many times you left this hotel since we've been in Austin?
Once.
What's the billboard coming out of the street that we're on? There's a billboard right there.
I saw the health one over here because that's right outside my window and I look out it all the time.
So now we're going, right?
Yeah,
it's touches have value. And what we find is that like for anyone that runs like Google My Business, Google listings, any of that stuff, like pretty valid lead, right? When someone keyword searches and goes in, when you get a response from a piece of direct mail, whether it's a QR code scan, a phone number from a call track, like very intent based. So when you line up the value of the different marketing touches, as long as they're all aligned, the more touches you're getting, the higher likely to the conversion. I was saying this on the marketing panel yesterday. 3 to 6% of your target customers need exactly what you have right now. So how much of a job are you doing to make sure that people know what you're doing in their neighborhood? That's where we get into that psychology around like, you should be running Facebook ads. You should have Google listings, all the stuff that you've heard of before. But I think where people haven't taken the approach with direct mail is focusing on sending more mail to less people.
Well, and look, I've demoed you guys this platform. We've had clients that have used it, and it's absolutely phenomenal in terms of the revolutionizing of that, because you think about the touch impressions, right? And so here's how this comes full circle to, you know, somebody that's doing a great job. So if you have a great brand, first and foremost, that's where it starts. Dan Antonelli, kick charge, hire him.
Amazing.
Right?
Couldn't recommend
phenomenal,
Dan
right?
Totally.
You know, he's one of the cream of the crops in not just the HVAC space, almost any of the trades, right? Home service trades in general. So when you have a good brand and now the vehicle's out front and it's inside there, but the neighbors then also get a direct mail piece before the job, during the job, and after the job, right? I mean, or you can do 3 of them, you can do 2 of them. Probably 3 is a better thing from that. And it's also the other way to do that though too is not necessarily selling so much on the first direct mail, right? And there's different ways to be able to do this, right? It's education. So if somebody's looking at this, say, okay, well, I'm going to send 3 pieces of postcard to the neighbors based around one job. What am I going to say 3 times?
So what I would really look at is you go to like people buy from who they know, like, and trust.
Yes.
Fair to say. So you're introducing yourself. Hey, we just helped your neighbor with their system. We just cleaned your neighbor's ducts. We just did whatever we did. Just let them know what you're doing. Pardon the dust, pardon the noise. We're working in the area. Here's something we helped someone in your neighborhood with. Meet our team. Meet a technician. Meet the company mascot that happens to be our dog. Picture of the town that you're working in, the water tower with a highlight with maybe a coupon to the local ice cream shop for checking you guys out. Like, think about being selfish for your customer. Like, what does your customer need to know to help them get introduced to the problems you solve? So I really like, here's what we're doing. Here's someone else we helped with what we're doing. Here's an example of someone that had a problem that we fixed. Here's a review. Here's some more information about our company. And this is where I go to like that more touches to less people. It's great to want to scale. It's great to have a shotgun approach. But when you can truly identify who your target customer is and invest those marketing dollars, your spend dollars on simply like putting someone in the position to trust you more or be aware of the problems you solve. Right. I go back to that 3 to 6% thing.
Well, and you look at that. I mean, it's you look at the 3 to 6%, and I'd have to pull up the exact numbers, but I've had a Sabri Subri sell like crazy, right? And he had these numbers on there, and that 3 to 6 is there. They're problem aware. They know they have a problem. They're actively looking for a solution, right? There's other people that know they have a problem, but they're not actively looking for a solution.
Right.
There's others that don't have a clue that there's a problem, and they don't even know what the solution is. And now, if you're getting after the other, if you're 3 to 6, the 95% of the people that aren't necessarily even aware there's a problem, and you're just positioning it out there. Hey, here's us, here's us, here's us, here's us. Your vehicle is out there. Now here's us, right? And then you hit them with the digital marketing and they see the billboard driving around. Now there's this brand familiarity. And I wrote down earlier brand continuity, right? Because everything matches the same.
Exactly.
And when you have that, it actually helps augment and dial in your digital marketing when you have these extra things, which is the piece that I think people miss because they look at direct mail as like, well, I want an instantaneous response. Well, no, that's not actually it.
We all want an instantaneous response with everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think it goes to like, we were talking before about the value of a marketing touch. If you see a company and they appear to be everywhere, don't you trust them more?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about like looking at the data in your business, one really easy exercise I like to give, especially in the trades, is like simply look at your data from last year. Take the whole year, regardless of the CRM that you use, highlight your whole customer list, sort it by zip code, make a tally of how many jobs you did in your top 3 zip codes. That's an indicator of where you should be spending your marketing dollars because the data in your business will tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
It's your job to open up the book and read.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about like the predictability, we all want to grow. We all want to expand. Like we're in the Twin Cities. We send postcards every other week to the neighborhood where Kevin Garnett and Prince and Jesse Ventura used to live because it's a gated community. It's a higher neighborhood. The houses are worth like $4 million. And if let's say postcards cost $1 and Facebook ad impressions cost X and Google searches cost X, I know that if I target the 300 homes in that private neighborhood, I need like 1 job every other month for us. Our spend, we're always in that neighborhood. Our signs are there. The door hangers are out. The Facebook ads are running, like everything's there. And it's just very predictable marketing. Mm-hmm. Like instead of, and again, it goes to that shotgun approach. I think it's so much more simple to make decisions when you're operating from the data in your business. And unless you opened yesterday, let's go to anyone that's been open for more than a year that's listening or watching. The idea is like the decisions that you need to make are sitting there in your business. Mm-hmm. You just got to pop the book.
Yeah. So you mentioned, sending a postcard every 2 weeks to one neighborhood. Mm-hmm. How long would you say that you need to do that for before A, you start to see the traction, mm-hmm. and B, people start to get annoyed?
So it's kind of funny. We run postcard marketing for my power washing business. We run postcard marketing for Dope to gain customers. I consider when someone gets mad and is like, you need to stop sending me mail, that's to get me as a conversion. Yep. I know that it's working. I know that they're paying attention. Right. The strategy that I recommend with direct mail is pick a neighborhood, send 1 postcard a week for 4 weeks in a row. That's your base test to see. It's that same trigger. Hey, we're in your neighborhood doing this. Here's who we are. Here's the service we provide. Here's a review. Those 4 touches over the course of a week in a neighborhood that you have more than 3 jobs in should prove like a baseline. You should be able to, with minimal spend, see a positive result on ROI in a month using a strategy like that with direct mail.
There you go. Yeah. And then if you get the positive response, do you keep doubling down on that neighborhood?
I do.
And for how long?
So I like to have, when I go back to that exercise of the 3 zip codes, you want to find the commonalities because it's not like you're going to hit the whole zip code. You want to find those pockets of neighborhoods where you want to work.
Yeah.
I usually have like 3 or 4 neighborhoods that have similar, like people get very like with data. It's easy to get excited. Oh, these people have this many kids and they're this old and they have a dog and they have this haircut and they have this car and their grass is this long. It's like, chill the fuck out. Mm-hmm. Home value is what matters. Home value is the most predictable thing with home service. And what I really like with especially like HVAC, plumbing, electric is like, what's the difference between a house that's 3,200 square feet and 4,200 square feet?
Size of the furnace.
2 systems.
They have 2 systems.
2 systems.
Right? Yep.
So now if you can say like this neighborhood has homes over 4,000 square feet, I like to look at the deals and the offers that are different. Maybe my foot in the door offer of a maintenance plan, a tune-up is a little bit more aggressive in a house that has 2 systems because the back out of the job is going to be that much more.
Right.
So if I go to the example of the study around like, I'm going to send 1 postcard a week for 4 weeks in a row. I want to test that in a neighborhood with 3,200 square foot average homes or whatever that are 400,000 in value. I'm just making this up. But then like you do another test, same neighborhood, different offer or same offer and say these homes are over 4,000 square feet and over $500,000 or whatever it is. I have like 3 more neighborhoods behind that I know I'm going to hit based on the results. But again, it's not just the 1 month test, because I know if I'm consistently getting leads, whether it's home run or it's a single, the success is in the consistency.
Right.
If you can go back to that well, and I always say, like, an entrepreneur has 5 fingers on their hands for a reason. 4 things they're doing all the time. 1 thing that they replace if something isn't working that can always slip in. So when you look at that from a marketing standpoint, as long as you have the consistency in your branding, every touch is valuable. It's which one is the most meaningful.
Right. Well, and then that goes back to that consistency. Remember, 95% of people on average aren't necessarily actively shopping for your product. And so staying that front and center and keeping it up. Radio is a good example of this. People will do radio for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and like, fuck, it's not working. I'm not getting any ROI. But if you stuck with it to month 12,
you're the company on the radio.
Guess what happens?
It's a big fucking deal.
Right.
And it's the same thing. Everyone should look this company up. We've been doing some tests with them. It's called Blip, Blipp. Sure. It's a billboard platform where you can buy ad space on digital billboards, and it's comparable to Facebook stuff. You could spend $500 to $1,000 a month, and it's a little bit different. In the Twin Cities, unfortunately, they only have like 3 or 4 of the billboards, and they're not in like the greatest areas that we focus on. But I would highly recommend that anyone look that up, because you just got to play with this shit. Like, one of the advantages of not being in like the biggest markets, like a Dallas or a Miami or somewhere in New York or whatever, is like, these traditional methods of marketing, the newspaper, the radio, the TV, like these type of things, billboards, back 5-10 years ago, that shit used to be crazy expensive. Those channels are having problems selling ad space, and it's always a deal or a negotiation. There's this guy in the Twin Cities. His name is Chris Lindahl. He's he's like the real estate guy.
Yeah.
And he's on the billboards with his arms out, and he's on the TV commercials. He's on the stuff. And all this dude did is like did a blitz all over the Twin Cities, and now everyone knows who Chris Lindahl is. The fascinating thing is, like, you can do that in a more micro area with any budget by simply, like, you have your traditional and your digital marketing. Get your door hangers, your flyers, your yard signs, your whatever, your Facebook ads, your Google ads, your truck wrap, and you just take that same focus of dominating in a whole area. You look at the data from that exercise we went to, and just like upload your shit into Google Maps. Look at the pins. Find a density of pins and just bang on that fucking neighborhood. Look at the other 2 behind it. And it's like, you don't need to be spending $100,000 on billboards, TV, radio, all of it. But like YouTube, Reels, Instagram, all these video, like the streaming service.
Get down to like
a couple grand,
right?
Like, it's not a crazy amount of spend to be the company. You're active on Nextdoor. You're active in the Facebook mom groups. You're taking your minutes and investing them along with some spend, and just not going to this like to the moon strategy, but instead, said it a couple times, letting the data tell your story.
Right. And here's the thing is, like, he's talking specific nuanced neighborhood marketing, not going wide with your shit, but keeping it local. And here's what this does. If you really get this strategy dialed in the right way, is we talk, Billy Stevens, a great example of this, and Sarah, owning your backyard. Here's what this does for your efficiencies. If you can go to the same neighborhood over and over and over again all day long, how many more calls can you do? What's your billable hourly rate now? What's your efficiency rate?
Drive
billable
time.
Versus non-billable.
Amen.
Drive time, right? And
Amen.
so you reduce your drive time. Now you're going to the same place over and over and over again. Your efficiencies go up in your business. Your profits go up because you're getting more efficient with your marketing. So love it. Dave, I know we try to keep these around the 25-minute mark while we're here, while we're live. I mean, we could probably keep going on this because, I mean, I was in print. I was in print before I started the digital marketing with targeted magazines, right? So a lot of what you're saying resonates in that, and you can do that overlay with Facebook down to like a 1 to 3 mile radius now. Same thing with Google. Same thing
and even
with Reels,
take your
those
mailing
things, right?
list and uploading into these platforms,
right? And and I'm sure there's software too that would also take out your zip codes and plot it out to be able to see what your actual geo analysis is of the city. So as we do wrap up, though, I have one final question here for you, and that is, what is one question that you wished people would ask you more but don't?
What is one question that I wish people would ask me more but don't? Why do you have so many kids?
Why do you have so many kids, Dave? And how many do you have?
We just had number 5.
You guys are crazy.
Hey, that's why I feel like we should be asked the question more.
Right?
I have the answer.
Why?
We like to practice.
There you go. You should just get a snippy, and then you don't have to worry about any more kids. And you keep practicing.
I'm done.
You're done?
So we had number 5 4 months ago. And I got snipped 2 months ago.
Nice.
Very unfertile.
My appointment's October 10th. So
Have fun.
yeah, I've got 2 kids and I don't want a third.
I'm coming out with a coaching and consulting business about people going through vasectomies.
For $49, you can buy my course.
I'll tell you, bag of peas, 3 days. Don't walk up the stairs.
There you go, done, right?
I'll send the bill.
Yeah, well, and you'll send the peas too, right? There you go. It's part of the
comes with the
$49.
49.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Dave, to chat. I know we've been trying to get you on for a little while. I kind of stopped following up when you told me to try harder. So next time I'll keep trying up. So thank you so much. Yeah. And until next time, cheers. Well, that's a wrap on another episode of HVAC Success Secrets Revealed. Before you go, 2 quick things. First off, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/HVAC Revealed. The other thing, if you took one tiny bit of information out of this show, no matter how big, no matter how small, all we ask is for you to introduce this to one person in your contacts list. That's it. That's all. One person. So they too can unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Until next time, cheers.